Friends, colleagues and listeners, welcome. We've got a great guest today on the podcast. I just made a bit of a mistake earlier, but Simon was bang on. So on the podcast session today, we've got Richard Prince, CEO of Aviapartner. And before I say hello, Richard, I just want to say I was listening to you at a conference recently, and your common sense, logic, and a little sense of humour and a twinkle in the eye was a welcome change to some of the sessions that I've been listening to. So I'm really pleased to have you today. So welcome on board.
Thank you, Chris, and really good to be here. I think that we've had enough challenge and struggles in 2020, building back up from the impact of COVID. And I think the reality is, sometimes you have to bring a bit of light to the conversation. Sometimes you have to put things in a bit of perspective, and you have to look at the future ahead of you instead of the past behind you. Actually, if you look at that today, then the future for our industry is very bright. The future for the aviation industry and particularly the ground services sector looks very good. So there are lots of reasons to be smiling and to be positive and confident.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And something that I think is so important now for people is lots of attitudes have changed, lots of objectives have changed within every individual. But the one thing I think is so important is that whoever they're working for, they understand what the story is or the journey that their leaders are actually taking them on. And with that in mind, and the word that you said, positive, which obviously begins with a great big P, I'd like to ask you about how you're addressing some of the other P words that are important with regard to that storyline. So the first, in my opinion, one of the most important is people, Richard. So what are you doing differently, or what's the Avia formula with regard to how you're treating people now moving forward in this positive framework?
Well, I think the first thing is, what's been really important is really bringing people back to the heart of what it is we do here. We are a people business. People check in passengers, people solve passengers' problems, people are handling people's personal property and baggage, people are loading bags onto and things back. I mean, people are everything that we do in this business. And if you don't put people at the centre of the discussion, then you're not having the right discussion. I think we've done a number of things. I think if you look back to 2020, we made deliberate decisions that we wouldn't put any of our people into redundancy program. We protected all of our employees through government welfare schemes. It was something we wanted to do to protect the skill, but obviously people wanted to work somewhere they could. But keeping people in the business was important, and not doing short-term or short-sighted restructuring. I think during that program, continuing to bring people to work. So we made a deliberate attempt to make sure that everybody came back into work and had some type of touch point with our organisation, whether they were working 1 hour a week or 6 hours a week or 30 hours a week. It's important to stay connected. I think we're then focusing on how do we give people the skills they need to operate, not just today, but in the future. So looking more around how we can multi-skill better, how we can cross-train people, how we can move people between departments. And really, one of the things that we've focused on is how do we get back to that sense that aviation can be a career for somebody? There's no reason why you can't join Aviapartner as a passenger service agent, as a dispatcher, as a ramp handler, because we have lots of people that are very well qualified joining our business at all levels. And if you have the right approach, if you work hard enough, if you take the time and you have the ambition, you can achieve what it is you want to be. So I think we've gone through a period in the past where aviation was really about, there's a group of people that have been here for a while, and that's just supplemented with temporary workers. And I think we're trying to bring it back to, what is your journey in Aviapartner? What's your journey going to be? You might just be here for a short period of time, but actually, if you want a career, if you want to grow that career, if you want to get involved in lots of exciting things and really become a successful individual, then this is a place to do it. So real focus on training, real focus on involvement, and then really trying to modernise our platforms that we operate within. So I remember back 10, 12 years ago when I was the general manager at Stansted Airport, someone came to work and had forgot their PPE. They have to stand at a storeroom or try and find a supervisor. You go to Rome today, if you've got on your PPE, you can go to a vending machine, you can get those things distributed. Read and sign documents. That we don't work with paper copy read and sign documents. They're either through totem poles available in crew rooms or available on mobile applications for people to read. So really trying to modernise our employee experience at the time as provide great opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that word modernising, I mean, that's so important, because if people can see that as part of the storyline, you're trying to make things easier, and it's quite difficult to make things easy. It's easy to make things difficult. But if you're trying to make things easy and they appreciate it, they feel that the organisation is caring about them as well.
Yeah, and I think there's, we go beyond that, because we look today at the future and what the future holds, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. We are already on a journey at Aviapartner to implement assisted loading devices on the ramp, whether that be through bendy belts or power stoves, to the sense of bringing technology to bear that can carry the workload for people. Gone are the days in Aviapartner where we'll have 3 people in an aircraft hold throwing 25 kilo bags up the hold. We have these devices today that do all that work for us in a much more efficient way. And again, the technology has moved on a lot in the last 5 years. It's much more reliable, it's much more robust. And actually people today recognise the assistance it's providing them, whereas maybe in the past it was more of a challenge to get that recognition. And I think as we go through generational shifts and change, people that are coming into the industry today, the younger people, they don't want to be throwing 25 kilogram bags down the hold. But what they do want to do is they want to be working in that environment, which is fast-paced, exciting, moving, changing all the time, dynamic, but then taking some of that heavy workload, because by doing that, you'll keep people at work. You won't tire them out. You won't give them injuries and send them home with accidents, and it will smooth the process. And when you look at some of the other processes for our passenger services agents, for example, again, today, lots of transaction-based activities. What we're looking to do is move towards more of a hosting role. So really about providing service to people, passengers, airlines and airports. So again, that transactional journey for passengers will change as they go from sort of manual check-in to automated bag drops, and different processes will come along through the airport at different periods of time, and really giving our employees the chance to adapt to that and help the industry modernise will be important, because that will keep people coming to work, that will keep people interested, and that will keep people, in our industry, and keep our industry thriving. Because even with all the modern technology in the world, even with all the automation and the automated bag drop, there's still going to be a clear requirement for skilled and trained personnel delivering services for passengers in aviation.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, something that does interest me, and I've in the last 7 days, I've been on 5 flights. Okay, so I've been to USA and back, I've been to Spain and back, and I've also travelled one more. But on all of those, there was a lot of frustration from the passengers, the customers. For a variety of things. Okay, so in one instance, it was the stand. There was 2 aircraft on one stand, so had to wait. Then there was another one, which ironically was a brand new aircraft, 330, and because it was brand new and it was in its first week of operation, it had to be towed onto the stand. So various things, but also in check-in, and also not just to do with the actual aircraft side, but on car rental. And that was in the States. Okay, so people were queuing. Now, the way in which people gave that bad news or the message also needs to be worked on, I think, because if you can capture or say something before that frustration level hits a certain side, you see people go, and if you say, we'll give you an update in 20 minutes, and you give an update in 18 minutes, they're happy. They're not they're not clock watching and trying to put people under pressure. But the other thing that I don't understand is when you're in queues, why do they not use videos or stories or telling people what they can do or giving them information so it distracts that actual frustration? I'm sorry to throw that one at you, but it just happened over these last 5 days. And in particularly, there was 2 guys sitting next to me. Sitting next to me. One of them was standing, one was sitting. And my God, they were not frightened to be vocal. And every time somebody was trying to say something, oh, this is ridiculous and blah, blah, and it just ruins everybody else's experience.
I think the reality is that, you know, what we should be positive about is that you've been on 5 flights in the last period of time. I think what you should be positive about, and what we should all be positive about, is that there is a clear demand and continued demand for air travel and aviation. I think what we should all be positive about is airlines are bringing new aircraft and new aircraft types to the market, which will overall improve the experience as technology comes online. And I think that's important because, you know, the new aircraft type are more fuel efficient, more around sustainability. So those things that we talk about there, the frustrations that come through, you know, there are positives that sit behind those that, you know, we sort of sometimes forget to focus on those positives. So high demand, you know, people queuing in airports for car rental means there's a strong car rental business behind it. And again, that wasn't the case 2 years ago. So again, things to be positive there. I think there's no doubt today that people generally believe they have the ability to be frustrated about many things. So again, you have to keep it into proportion. I think the reality is, in airports, you know, in terms of the infrastructure and the processes that we operate, there are many opportunities to failure. And I think for people like me and my airport colleagues and the airline colleagues, our job is to ensure that those processes are managed in the best way possible, to fix those things that create frustration, to iron those things out and provide a seamless journey through the airport. And I think that is a challenge for everyone. And I think that, you know, in 2022, clearly there's been a significant demand for air travel beyond expectations. I think at the start of the year, and adapting to that demand has created some confusion and some delay in being prepared and being ready to deliver it, and that then leads to onward frustration in the process. I think the other challenge for us is, you know, we are an industry that has traditionally focused on the past. You know, we talk a lot about yesterday's performance, we talk a lot about yesterday's delays, we talk a lot about the problems of last week, we talk a lot about the problems of last year and what happened last month, and we don't necessarily spend enough time focusing on what's going to happen in the future. So that sense of pre-warning people there is going to be an issue here, it's not something we're very good at. It's not something traditionally that we've really focused on. So again, we don't like to think there's a problem until it hits us, and then when it hits us, we're trying to firefight and retroactively trying to fix the problem. So I think there's a big lesson for us all in terms of how we focus on the future and how we understand our plan better and how we communicate with our passengers better, because ultimately they are the ones that carry the frustration, whether that's communication through airports or through airlines particularly. Then I think we need to improve it. And I think there are some airlines going further than others or making more progress. I like you, have been flying recently, and you know, a number of those flights have been delayed, and some of those airlines now are very proactive about saying what gate your flight will be at, very proactive to say, unfortunately, your flight's delayed, your new departure time will be, you know, 40 minutes later. So there are improvements coming through the system. I think as all of the industry modernizes and we adapt to and make use of the technology available, the ability to interact with passengers and provide more information will be improved. And I think, you know, the challenge of queues at the airport, that's a challenge of demand. I think that, you know, the reality is, how do you solve a problem that 50 people want to get a hire car, and the hire car, you know, the hire car location has 1 or 2 or 3 desks and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 staff working, because effectively they're dealing with a supply and demand issue. They're never going to have enough resources to deal with 50 people at a time. But it wouldn't surprise me in the future that they solve those problems differently. So it wouldn't surprise me in the future that actually, if you go to one of the car rental companies in the future, you're given an ID code, you have to give some sort of bar scan that you've been sent that will open a locker. In that locker will be your keys and your paperwork, and actually you'll only talk to the desk if you have a specific request for an additional item, like a car seat, for example. But standard, straightforward transactions of hiring a car, effectively you need to be validated. Do I have a driving license? Can I drive? Have I got my keys? Have I got my paperwork? And can I leave the airport? So again, those processes I think will be improved as airports continue on this journey for modernisation to improve the way they work.
Well, my goodness me, you certainly turned that little question of mine round very positively. I might have to call you Prince of Positivity now after that one. You really swung that one round. Maybe old Rishi will be giving you a.
The thing is, Chris, what there are.
A shout shortly.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not sure I'd go that. I'm not sure I want to be involved in that discussion. But I think there are things to be positive about. 2 years ago, everyone thought the industry, and we are in a place today. We face a 2023 with potentially growing demand. And if we don't see growing demand due to some economic pressures we have today, then we'll see demand stabilise. We've got airlines putting forward orders for new aircraft. We've got passengers that want to travel. We've got airports that want to develop and grow. And actually, one of the biggest discussions is about how that's done sustainably for today and for the future. And I think they are all things to be positive about. And the frustrations that passengers get on a day-to-day basis are something that we all have to work on to improve. And I think as we continue to move from the disruption we've had of the recent years into a more normalised environment, 2023, no doubt will be 100 times better than 2022, and 2024 will again improve and improve. And through that improvement, where we readapt, we'll modernise, improve systems and processes that will make the passenger experience easier at the same time. So you'll get exponential improvement, I think, in experience and in service, because there's no doubt that one thing the disruption creates change. Big periods of disruption create big periods of change, and what we've seen 2020, 21 is big disruption through COVID, and what we've seen in 2022 is huge disruption in terms of business readiness and ability to deliver what's required for passengers. That will create change. So the future is no doubt positive.
Yeah, no, and that's what I liked about. That's what I said at the beginning. That's what I liked about when I was listening to you. Now, as far as the positivity is going, if you were now invited to sit in front of a group of youngsters, let's say 30, 40-year-olds who are looking for a restart in a different industry, but they had the enthusiasm to do so, and also a more older audience. So across all the sectors, how would you sell them on Aviapartner?
That's a great question. I think joining a company like Aviapartner is a great opportunity for anyone, regardless of their age. We have people join our company at 16 years old. We have people that come to us as job students and stay and never leave. We have graduates that come to us, not on graduate placement programs, but just as graduates because they want to get involved in the industry. And we have people that join us that come from different careers. So whether they've left the forces, for example, or whether they've left other careers and been made redundant, they come to us. I think that Aviapartner is a great place because it's a great leveler, because the reality is we provide all the training you need to do the work with Partner. You don't have to have a big bank of experience and a rucksack full of education and degrees and masters to get on in this company. What you have to do is you have to have a desire to learn and a desire to work hard and a desire to participate. And if you have those things, then you can make a career in Aviapartner whatever it is you want. If you're looking for a stable job, 37 hours a week, where you come to work, you do your piece, you get a fair salary for a fair piece of work, you have the opportunity to get some overtime, you have a good set of holidays and conditions, and you work in a live and dynamic environment where things change all the time, so no one day is the same as the next, then it's a place to be. If you're someone that wants to create, wants to be multi-skilled, one day you want to work here, the next day you want to work in a different department, the next day you want to work in a different department, you can start at the lowest levels now of your partner, and you can progress through the ranks fairly rapidly. There's no reason why you can't go from being a passenger service agent, for example, to being a team leader or a supervisor within 12 to 18 months, depending on your ability, your desire to work and succeed. And then, there are, I remember Tommy Watt, for example, who was the ex-CEO of Service Air many years ago, before the Swissport acquisition. He started in Service Air as a ramp agent, I think, in Scotland, and he progressed to be the CEO of the company. So I think aviation and Aviapartner provides the opportunity for everyone to get what they want out of a career. Again, if you want to just come and do the job on 9 to 5, then you can do that and you can be very successful and very valued. If you want to grow and progress and succeed and get promotions and grow your career, you can do that as well. If you want to work part-time and you want to work flexible and you want to do 4 days a week, we have the ability to do that as well. I mean, pretty much everywhere in our business there is a job for someone. So again, depending on individual career aspirations, we have the work and we have the ability to adapt what we do to meet the needs of people, as long as they're prepared to work hard at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said, and the fact of working hard as well. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what generation you come from. Normally, if you work hard, your luck's going to be better, and people need to look at that. And the ironic thing as well is when they look at any individual who looks at doctors or pilots or police or whoever, you expect them to be working hard. So the same goes wherever you're working yourself. But equally, a team takes different people's mindsets and different positions, and the more variety, the better. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So apart from just signing my CV and putting it in the post, the issue that you covered a lot earlier was about the cross-skilling, upskilling, new skilling, etc. I mean, that's so important now, isn't it, Richard, with regards to individuals who want to have a little bit more confidence in their own security, their own ability, and their own asset value.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think it depends country by country and where you work and what you want to do. I think there are, again, in the business we work in today, there are great opportunities to be a multi-skilled person. We have people that start in one department and work in all of the departments in the company, and then progress to being a supervisor, or a station manager, or a department manager. But again, what you see today and what we've really been working on in 21 into 22 is about providing people with as many skills as they can build, and effectively, the more skills you build, the more valuable you are as an asset. Now, for some people, they just don't want to do that, and that's absolutely fine as well. By the way, if they want to do their job and they're happy to do their job, then there is a place for them in the company as much as there is anybody else. But those people that want to be multi-skilled, those people that want to be able to work on check-in, and they want to be able to board aircraft, and they want to be able to do load control and potentially aircraft dispatching, or maybe they want to be involved in safety investigations, maybe they want to be involved in audit preparation, maybe they want to be the environmental coordinator for the station. There are so many different elements now to what we do. You might be a person that works on the ramp, but also at the same time, you might then also be responsible for GSE, maintenance and repairs. You might be dealing with some supplier conduct issues, dealing with maintenance and repairs providers. You might be working on procurement of new GSE. There's so many opportunities for people to get involved in what we do, that again, they have the opportunity to build skills and be multi-skilled. And I think in Aviapartner particularly, we're a lean organization. The distance from me as the CEO and my chairman, Mr. Laveau, who's owned the company for 13 years, to the person that works on check-in or on the ramp, you're talking about 5 or 6 layers. It's not very far. We have myself, we have a country manager, we have a station manager, and then the people at the station. I mean, that's it. I mean, walking in and around our airport today, talking to our people, we don't have big hierarchies of command and control. We don't have big support departments where everything is outsourced to somebody else, or someone's taking responsibility for this and that. I mean, basically, if you're working in that airport, you're responsible for making sure that airport is successful, and that involves the management of the people, the training of the people, the welfare of the people, the pay and remuneration of the people. It's about the equipment and resources. It's about the GSE. It's about all the things that are needed. And again, it's like a little micro economic environment in our stations. That's where the work is delivered. That's where the passengers are. That's where the revenue is earned, and therefore that's where you have to create success. So again, if you are an individual person wanting to work in Aviapartner, multi-skilling is absolutely a great thing to do, and it's a great asset for people to get. And again, we see more and more desire for it, more demand for it as we go through. And of course, that's going to change because at the same time, we've just implemented and rolled out some new IT technology to help with our operational process and procedures. And again, we've gone from having 0 devices to 1,800 devices in our organisation. Those devices today are helping people in terms of the communication of what they're responsible for doing and the works and the tasks they're allocated. They're responsible for collecting information in terms of the services we provide, whether that be revenue related or just airline related. They have access to all flights and airlines arriving in their station, including operating procedures and processes that they need to be aware of, including any changes to ground operations procedures. They have all the information about the stands and the airports. I mean, really giving people the tools to do their job. And that, for some of our people, by the way, that's also cross-skilling. How do you use technology in an environment before that's been paper-based?
Yeah. No. I think, a lot of the things that you've said now, for anybody listening or, listening to something for the first time, I mean, it gives people a huge opportunity to come into a business, which when you think about it, for every spot where an aircraft lands, if you look around it, whether it's catering, whether it's insurance, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, sales, there's so many different industries or skill sets around the aircraft. And then when you think, if you join a company that's in multi-site areas, you've got the opportunity to go and do it in a different country, which is a wonderful opportunity for anybody coming into this industry.
And I don't think that, again, you talk about, what would I say to someone to join Aviapartner? We have. We don't sell this necessarily as something that's available to everyone. But the reality is, we have people today that work in Aviapartner Spain who have spent periods in Germany this year. We've got people in Germany that are going to spend periods in the Netherlands during the winter. I mean, we do provide people the opportunity to go and work in different airports and to go and work in different countries. I mean, if you had a particular need or want to relocate to somewhere else, then there's no reason in Aviapartner why, if you're a member of our staff already, you could just pursue that dream and move. So again, there's not many organisations that have that flexibility. We're in 52 cities around Europe, and if you work in any one of those cities today and have ambitions to work or want to live and work in one of the others, then again, if you work in Aviapartner, you can do both.
It is. No, it's incredible. And listen, thanks very much for the positive slant you put on things today. Really appreciate it. I just would like to finish with one last question.
Of course.
What is exciting you now about the future, whether it be one initiative or a project, but what is it that's making you so engaged and so positive about what you're doing, what Aviapartner's doing, and what the industry's doing?
I think what excites me the most is the plan to the future. I think if you look to the future and you look to 2023 to 2030, we will oversee another period of change for our industry. We'll see the change in airports and what's going to happen with airports. So today where we look at a very transaction-based airport, we face a journey that will go from very low automation to very high automation. What does that mean for the passenger journey? What does that mean for security? What does that mean for the way that our staff work today and how our staff will work in the future? It's very, very important, because there is going to be a transition. You walk into an Apple store today and there are Apple hosts there talking to people about their experience and what they want to buy and what they want to sell. You can take that idea and put that into an airport of the future, because the transaction-based activity, it will be delivered through technology, but hosts and people taking care of passengers and allaying those frustrations, communicating positively about what their experience is going to be. That could be the future. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years, it's an idea and trajectory. If you look at what happens in our industry around what's going to happen with automation, around greening of GSE, around new aircraft types coming into being, but ultimately continued strong demand for aviation, continued strong demand for travel. And as an industry, we get to a point where we are sustainable and where we're doing a lot to offset our impact of that on the planet and to climate change. Then in reality, it's a thriving industry to work in. It's a thriving industry to work in. And ultimately, it comes back to that single thing. And this is one thing that we've been talking about in Aviapartner specifically since 2020. Is you have to remember, we're doing it for the passengers. You have to remember, you're a service provider. We're here to provide services. And if we're not providing services that people want, we're irrelevant. if we're not meeting the demands and expectations of our customers, will be replaced. So the exciting thing of Aviapartner is saying, do we meet the requirements of our customers today, the airports, the airlines, and the passengers? And can we adapt and can we transform ourselves and be agile enough every day to continue to strive to meet that demand and that expectation? Because if we do, we will be relevant and we will be winners. And I believe that Aviapartner is set up today to be the winners of the future, because focusing on the passenger and focusing on what they want today and what they need tomorrow is ultimately our number one aim. We're a passenger service organisation providing services to customers in airports and to airlines. And that is the key to all of our journeys in Aviapartner.
No, well done. I'm sold. No, no, seriously, it's lovely to see someone with passion and engagement and someone who actually believes in what they're saying as well. That's why I said you might get a call from Rishi, the old transport secretary or something. But Richard, it's been an absolute pleasure, and good luck with everything. And and please keep speaking the way you do, because it makes people feel better. And if people can see that there's a positive end, or at least a few stopovers on that journey, it makes it worthwhile starting. So, good luck.
Thank you, Chris. Great to speak to you.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.